here. Baker Mayfield. So the Cleveland Browns will have chosen, along with Denzel Ward, by the way, the corner they took fourth in the same draft. They are exercising the fifth-year option for both of those players. And, neither is a surprise. You could always rescind this as well. The money for 2022 would equate to a little bit less than $19 million, 18.6. Listen, there's a lot of different directions to go. I would start with this. First of all, totally comfortable with it. You look at what he's overcome, multiple head coaches, multiple coordinators, organizational dysfunction and incompetence. Might not ever win the MVP, might not ever be, probably, I would almost say definitely, will never be the best quarterback in football. But in a lot of ways here, Teak, the way Josh Allen fits Buffalo, Baker fits Cleveland.
Yeah.
This feels right.
It does feel right. I'm a little bit worried that he might not fit that criteria that I always throw out for a team to win a championship, which is you better be a Hall of Famer, and if not, build a fantastic defense, which, by the way, they might be doing, to be honest with you, with Myles Garrett over there. You talk about Ward. They just signed Jadeveon Clowney. There's thought that they're going to take one of these edge rushers in the draft anyways, just to have depth. I mean, they could build up a pretty stout defense, and Baker Mayfield then fits the bill for a guy who can help win a team a championship, because we know he's got talent, right? We know he's got leadership and all that moxie, those intangibles that you're talking about. Of course he has all of that. The question is he ever going to be elite, 4,500 yards, leading the league in touchdowns, not high interception percentage. I don't know about that, but I think for this team, it might not necessarily matter the way that they're being constructed right now.
Yeah, well, let me hit you with some numbers here, because I think people, even those who support Baker, like you and I do, might be selling him a little bit short. Now, if I said to a random football fan, a good football fan who knows stats and knows the game, hey, what do you think Baker was last year in QBR? You'd probably get myriad responses. I don't think anybody would necessarily know. Like like if you ask like Rodgers, or you know certain guys 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Baker might take a little more time because he played in horrendous weather. They run the ball a lot. 10th, by the way, he was 10th in QBR. That's the answer. But you start to magnify a broader snapshot of what he did a year ago, the growth, right? From week 7 to 15, Teak, he was actually third. Now, again, this is, if I'm looking for a positive, there's always ways to skew stats. You could do a really deep dive. I understand I'm extrapolating within an extrapolation. I get that. But from week 7 to the end of the season, 7 to 15, pardon me, he rated third behind Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. And, I say all this because I just look at the previous year and even the year before that. Yeah, there was moxie, much like we saw in college, but there was also a little immaturity. I saw a resolve. I saw a tenacity. I saw, I think, a spike in professionalism, maybe an increase in clarity. I feel like, if he wasn't exactly sure how to act or who to be or even who he necessarily was going to be as a player his first couple of years, I believe he knows now. And I believe that, when we look back in 15, 20 years, I don't think we're going to be talking about an all-time great, but I think we're going to be looking back on Baker Mayfield's career with a lot of respect.
Yeah, of course, BT. And we always have to qualify Baker Mayfield's first 3 seasons. It's 4 coordinators and 3 head coaches in his first 3 years. So any doubts or progress or setbacks or whatever it may have been, there's a clear-cut explanation for it. And in this second year in this system, who knows how high they can get and they can go. We know that they're based on the run game. They have 2 great running backs and a good offensive line. They have wide receivers, pass catchers, let's put it that way, because they're tight ends as well, who can be dominant. So I feel like Baker isn't always asked to do that much. And so at this point, you're the Cleveland Browns. You're trying to, first of all, just build a winning culture. And they got there because they got to the postseason. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. It feels like, even if this is only just a 1-year blip. Like they can compete with the best in the division, and that's what matters when you're trying to build a winning team. You got to believe that you can do it. Now they've done it, and so now you got to take the next step. This is where the head coach and the big leaders on this team, offensive and defense, have to step forward.
Yeah, listen, you're talking about a team that always gets in their own way.
Yep.
And, it's funny.
It doesn't feel like that anymore, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but a lot of the reason, if Baker was a complete bust, it would feel. Even though they upgraded a lot of Conklin was a huge signing. Garrett is a home run draft pick. They've made Ward's a good draft pick. They have good receivers, as you mentioned, good pass catchers. But to eradicate that nasty stench that's followed this team, they've been a punchline for a long time. Their fans have been just kicked in the teeth repeatedly.
Yeah.
First playoff appearance since 2002. First playoff win in 26 seasons. First, they snap a 17-game losing streak against the Steelers. All these things mean something.
Oh, it's huge.
They
positives.
add up.
Of course, BT. And if they stay consistent, like if they stay a perennial a playoff contender and even get to, let's say, the AFC Championship at some point, all with Baker Mayfield's going to be somewhat of a legend. You know what I mean?
No, yes.
If he plays for, let's say, a decade, never wins a Super Bowl, but just has consistent winning, and that fan base now is like, we actually have a shot, right? They're not, constantly the butt of jokes and constantly
expecting the worst.
Yeah, exactly. Now all of a sudden their expectation turns. They're excited to go to games.
Yeah.
Baker, will go down as one of the. Maybe he might be in the Ring of Honor. To be honest with you,
I know where.
You know what I mean? I'm joking,
do know what
but
you mean.
Seriously,
no, I know what you mean. There's different measurements for different teams, and it shouldn't. At some point, there's an expiration date on that because, again, this is about the Browns, smartly and a no-brainer picking up the fifth-year option, which is a little bit less than $19 million, as I said. Eventually, the big financial decision and discussion comes when they've got to determine, okay, what are they going to? Oh, my God, the ball is just flying out of Wrigley Field. I thought these were highlights. Every time I look up, someone's hitting a bomb. Wynn's got to be a beast out there. Rizzo just went. Who's that, Baez? Yeah, Baez. They are cranking him. 7-zip Cubs, if you're curious. And I look at Mayfield, and, I see a player who very easily could have been swallowed up like Sam Darnold got swallowed up, like Josh Rosen got swallowed up. Let's not minimize the circumstances that he, too, has had to process and deal with. Multiple coordinators, multiple systems, multiple head coaches, and the expectations more than Rosen, even more than Darnold, as the first overall pick of the draft. Now, to me, this just I like Baker Mayfield. I've always liked him. I think he's a great fit for a city. If you think about this, and I said before, Josh Allen, great fit for Buffalo, right? We know that. But if you think about Cleveland, much like Buffalo, not a desirable destination. People who live there generally were born and raised there and stay there. It's not like you graduate college and say, oh, man, I'm going to move across the country. I'm going to go to Buffalo. People don't do that. You go to New York, you go to Chicago, you go out to California. Maybe you go to Austin now. There's different hot spots for sure. But you don't go to Buffalo unless you either were born there or have to go to Buffalo because you were drafted by that team. And the same with the Browns. They're I think it's really a perfect marriage because you look at him in college too, bouncing around, couldn't get the scholarship, chip on his shoulder, much like the fans, much like the city. Seems like it's always cloudy, it's always overcast, the weather's not great, real estate's and I'm not taking knocks at these cities. I have great respect for blue-collar cities, I really do. Cleveland, Buffalo, Detroit, we always support those cities and we always will. But I just think that it's staring us in the face, and I think that we just need to acknowledge that not only did they draft the right guy, I'm not saying Josh Allen wouldn't have worked out, I'm not saying that, but they drafted the right guy, and the DNA of the player seems to seamlessly match the DNA of the city. I'm really, really excited to see Baker Mayfield play football this season.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to be, especially because you he's the kid you rooted for. You either hated him or you loved him. And I was in that. I kind of love his attitude, whether it was brash and, I don't know, unsportsmanlike and
cocky,
who cares?
A little raw.
But I don't mind that.
Me neither.
There's certain guys, not even. There's just certain teams that kind of need that.
Yeah.
And I felt like Cleveland needed that. Like they didn't need a passive, I'm going to come in and do my job and, blah, 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 standard lines and just be average, right? Baker Mayfield can be average, a little bit above average like he was his first couple of years and still feel like he's impacting that team. And, now that he's, got some stability with his coaching staff and they're starting to build the right kind of roster around him, you just feel like he's ready to, take off. Right, there's a lot of expectation in Cleveland right now, and how many years has it been since we've been able to say that? Right, at least legitimately say that. We've said it before, but there was no like gas behind it.
Well, it was more hope rather than leaning on evidence. It was a real leap of faith rather than, all right, we saw this, they have that. Let's lump that together. Now we expect this.
Yes, there is evidence that this Browns team has a chance to be really good. And Baker Mayfield, I think, has weathered it. And, the ups and downs of those first few years, changing coaches and coordinators and everything else, getting the roster right. And now the sky's the limit for them. And that's got to be exciting if you're Cleveland.
And not only that, but the answer for that, absolutely, yes. Of course, it's exciting. They're pumped up. They're all listen, they've got the draft coming up this week. It's going to be on. Next week.
It's true.
It's going to be great.
It's in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland. It's going to be
50,000 fans, by the way.
How many?
50,000 they're allowing each day.
Really?
50,000.
I didn't see that number.
I was shocking. I was like, did I read that correctly?
50,000 outdoors.
It's outdoors, so I mean they'll probably be socially distant and spread around. But
how big is the city where you socially distance 50,000 people? Then why can't the Indians have 50,000 people at the ball game?
No idea.
Or even 30,000. That's interesting.
Idea. It was very interesting. I thought I read the number wrong.
Well, good for them. That's great.
I agree.
That's encouraging. And you look at the state of the division, too, because all interwoven within these opinions are, the immediacy of our reaction to the player, but also the circumstances around the team, right? Mm-hmm. And Big Ben, he's hanging by a string. He's just about cooked. Maybe he's got one more throwback season. All due respect, Hall of Famer. It's close to over, all right? Lamar Jackson at a bit of a crossroads, okay? Joe Burrow is going to be terrific, but he's coming off, major knee surgery, although he thinks he's going to play week one. And let me pose something crazy at you. And imagine me asking you this question a year ago. If I say, Teak, right now, going into week one of the 2021 NFL season, do you have more conviction in Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson? It's pretty close. And even if you say Lamar, it's close.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lamar, but you're right. It is close. I have to think about it. It's not like I'm just saying, Lamar Jackson without a doubt. It's not.
That's my point. Last year, you wouldn't have had to. You would have been Lamar. Me too.
Yeah, Lamar. I mean, it was without a doubt, it was Lamar. I'd have to think about it. Now, this changes just a little bit, BT.
Yeah.
Because there was a trade that just happened a couple of minutes ago.
In the NFL?
In the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs are trading.
Patrick Mahomes to the Jets.
Nope. They are trading its first round pick on Thursday.
All right, what is that? 30, whatever, 20, whatever. Okay,
30,
yeah. 31.
And 3 other picks in the 2021 and 2022 drafts to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for Pro Bowl offensive tackle Orlando Brown. And 1 pick in the 21 draft and the 22 draft. So they're basically swapping 2021 draft pick, 2021 and 2022 draft picks.
Wow.
And 3 other picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Interesting. Wow. Obviously, they have to do this.
That's big.
They have to shore up their offensive line.
Well, they did. They signed Tooney.
That's true.
But now
they're adding to it. They know that this was the big problem last year. We talked about it heading into the Super Bowl.
I got you.
It also now creates maybe a little bit of a problem for the Baltimore Ravens, too.
Yes. Who's going to benefit? The Browns.
Yep.
This is how we started the show, and everybody else. But, wow, that's interesting. So, give me the particulars again. I want to hear the draft declaration.
So,
hit me with that. 31st overall.
Kansas City. Hold on. Kansas City gets Orlando Brown.
Yep.
Right? And the 2nd round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in 2021 and the 6th round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in 2022. Baltimore gets the Kansas City Chiefs 1st round pick, which is number 31.
Yep.
Their 3rd round pick, which is number 94. Right. Their 4th round pick, which is 136. And then a 2022 5th rounder.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, so... Again, I'm hearing a lot.
They got 3 picks in this draft. Baltimore got 3 picks in this draft.
But the Chiefs got a 2nd round pick back, and the Ravens are getting back a 3rd round. That's interesting.
It's very, very interesting, man.
Wow.
I mean, maybe because it's so tight. I don't know.
Seems like a good win for the Chiefs.
I agreed. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, dude, I gave one, got one back.
Yeah. Sixth round, whatever. Fourth round.
Yeah, whatever.
You got enough talent. You don't really need that right now.
You're right.
That's interesting. All right, hey, listen. Maybe a prelude, a foreshadow to nuttiness. Who knows what's coming? They're over the weekend.
Yep.
And that's something you and I have talked about a lot. You know, what team, I just mentioned before, we'll get to this in inbounds, out of bounds. There's a thought the Raiders, who are in the 17th spot, might move up to whatever it requires to take a quarterback, that they've thoroughly, extensively scouted every prospect here. They could be in the quarterback market. If that's the case, would they trade Derek Carr? If you do trade Derek Carr, what can you get for Derek Carr? I mean, this is the best. I love when this goes down. This is awesome. Breaking trades, great stuff. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.